Hello guys, today we're going to talk about Iron Maiden. I will be reviewing their whole discography. Now I'm not going to talk about every single song, but if there's a certain song that I didn't talk about that you would like to know my thoughts on, of course, leave it in the comment section and I will definitely answer your question on a certain song. Or songs. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the discography. It all started with the Paul Di'Anno albums, the Self-Titled and Killers. So I do like the Self-Titled more, but I still think Killers is a good album. I just think that there are some songs on the Killers that don't really have much replay value, but I wouldn't consider any of the songs bad by any means. But on the Self-Titled, you get plenty of classics like Prowler, Remember Tomorrow, Phantom of the Opera, Running Free, and of course the title track. But yeah, there's a lot of good classics on here, and I think Charlotte the Harlot is underrated. And then Killers has some pretty cool stuff too. I don't think it's as good as the Self-Titled, but there are some cool stuff on here too, such as Genghis Khan and Innocent Exile. And then the title track and Prodigal Son, of course, are really good. But Wrathchild is probably my favorite song on the album. And overall, I'm a big fan of Paul Di'Anno's vocals, but I do prefer Bruce Dickinson, and he comes in with Number of the Beast. And I'm just gonna go ahead and just say what the weakest song is. It's got to be Gangland, because it's just not as memorable or as interesting as the rest of the songs on the album, in my opinion. I'm not gonna say that it's a bad song. I just don't think it's as catchy or as interesting, but that's just me. But I think The Prisoner and Children of the Damned are really underrated. I mean, Bruce really shines on those songs, especially in the choruses, and I like the lead work for The Prisoner too. But everyone of course knows Hallowed Be Thy Name and Run to the Hills, and of course the title track Number of the Beast. But overall, it's still an album for me that holds up. And same with the next one, Peace of Mind. Everyone knows The Trooper and Flight of Icarus. They're both great songs, but I think Revelations and Where Eagles Dare are pretty underrated. I mean, there's some pretty cool guitar work throughout this album, but I really enjoy the guitar work in Where Eagles Dare. And To Tame a Land is pretty cool too. It's a pretty cool album closer that I think doesn't get as much attention as it should. But Peace of Mind has some pretty cool stuff on it. Next we have Power Slave, which is my second favorite Iron Maiden album. Aces High and Rime of the Ancient Mariner and 2 Minutes to Midnight are probably my favorites on the album. But what's the song? I think Flash of the Blade and the title track are kind of underrated. I mean the title track, about whether or not it's underrated or not, is debatable, but I think it deserves as much attention as like a song like Aces High or The Trooper. But I really like the title track. But Rime of the Ancient Mariner has some really cool lead work, and it's probably my favorite of the Iron Maiden epics or the Iron Maiden long songs, whatever you like to call it. But yeah, Power Slave, great album. Really dig the production. Next we have Somewhere in Time, which is when they brought in the synths, and I like the synths on this album. And everyone knows, of course, Wasted Years and Stranger in a Strange Land, but I think Sea of Madness and Alexander the Great are pretty underrated. There's some really cool instrumentation in these songs. And Sea of Madness, if you're into the more heavier or more aggressive Iron Maiden songs, Sea of Madness is definitely up your alley. Definitely check it out after this video. But Somewhere in Time has some pretty cool stuff. And then my favorite Iron Maiden album, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Moonchild and Only the Good Die Young. In my opinion, they deserve as much attention as Can I Play with Madness and The Evil That Men Do. They're just such great songs, man. I mean the synthesizers are more evident here than on the last album, I think. I could be wrong, but of course the Clairvoyant is probably top 3 for me. Top 3 Iron Maiden songs. I mean, it's just instrumentally so interesting, and the song just keeps you invested in what's going on, and I just really dig the song. But a lot of cool stuff on this album, and I feel like this is the album where they're at their creative peak. And then we have the album No Prayer for the Dying, where people think that Iron Maiden dropped off, but I like this album. I mean, the production isn't the best. I mean, and the drums and the sound of the drums is kind of like, really? But Tail Gunner is probably my favorite song on the album. My only gripe is the way Bruce Dickinson delivers the line, "You're a tail gunner. You're a tail gunner." I think that's just really lame. I feel like he could have done something more interesting with that specific line in the song, but it's not the end of the world. But and then Everyone Hates Holy Smoke, but it's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. And then some people love Mother Russia, which instrumentally I think it's a pretty interesting song. And then I think Run Silent, Run Deep, and The Assassin are underrated. Next we have Fear of the Dark, which has classics like Wasting Love and the title track Fear of the Dark. But Judas Be My Guide and Childhood's End are really underrated. I mean, Judas Be My Guide is probably one of the most catchiest songs of their 90s time, in my opinion. I just wish it was a little longer because it's only 3 minutes and 8 seconds, I think. I could be wrong, but it's a fairly short song, but I wish it was longer. But they went a little dark in this album, and I dig it. And then they got even darker when Blaze Bayley came in with the album The X Factor, which I like the Blaze era. Now, the next album is a different story, but I like this album. The Unbeliever and 2 AM are pretty underrated. They're dark, brooding, and I dig it. But of course, Man on the Edge and Lord of the Flies and of course Sign of the Cross are pretty underrated. And then Virtual 11. Future Real is the only good song on the album. Well, Klansman's pretty good too, but that's about it. Angel of the Gambler, hands down, worst Iron Maiden song ever. And then we have Brave New World, which is probably one of the best comeback albums of all time. I mean, I really like the production, and I think Bruce sounds great in this album. The Wicker Man, Ghost of the Navigator, the title track, Fallen Angel is so metal. You gotta, I mean, if you haven't heard that song in a while, definitely check it out. But plenty of great stuff on that album. Definitely underrated. Dance of Death is another great album. Rainmaker and No More Lies are pretty good, and I like Passchendaele. Next we have A Matter of Life and Death, which this album is a little boring to me, but I don't think the production is the best either, but I'm not going to say that's a bad album. I just think it's only alright. It's just the replay value for me wasn't really there, and there's not a lot of songs from this album that I go back to, but it's still a decent album. I like the album cover. And then next we have Final Frontier, which is now I know I'm gonna get some flack. Well, no, that's not true. I was about to say that this is my least favorite Iron Maiden album, but my least favorite album is actually Virtual 11. But this album is my second least favorite. And I know people are going to say, really? You like No Prayer for the Dying more than Final Frontier? I don't care. No Prayer for the Dying was a more entertaining album for me. But Final Frontier, I like El Dorado, Mother of Mercy, Coming Home. But When the Wild Wind Blows is probably my favorite song on the album. A lot of cool instrumentation in this song, but the album is just kind of meh, but it's not bad though. And then we have The Book of Souls, and I'm already guessing that some of you are thinking, oh, does he think this album's boring too? But I actually like this. I actually really dig this album. I mean, during the first few listens, I just wasn't digging it at all. I thought it was just really freaking boring, but there are many songs on this album that have grown on me, and the title track, man. The title track has probably been the best thing they've done since Dance of Death, in my opinion. But I don't know, man. I really enjoyed the title track. It's one of the longer songs of the album, but I just really dig it. And then If Eternity Should Fail is really cool too. And then the first single we had was Speed of Light, which is another really pretty energetic song that I really like. Kind of reminds me of old Iron Maiden. I mean, a lot of people talk about Empire of the Clouds now. I like Empire of the Clouds. I just feel like it's a little too long. I mean, I feel like they could have shaved at least 4 or 5 minutes from it, but because I feel like there are some certain moments in this song that kind of drag on, but it's not a bad song. I still like it. There's some pretty interesting stuff in this song, and then Death or Glory is really cool too. But there are many songs on Book of Souls that have actually grown on me. But that's my review of the Iron Maiden discography. I hope you enjoyed this. If there are any songs that I didn't touch on that you'd like to know my thoughts on, definitely leave them in the comment section. I will answer you. I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and a like. Let me know your thoughts on Iron Maiden and their albums. And of course, take care and have a nice day.